Hello everybody. Now today is my senior project is about the church and the economy. So that's a big topic because it's want Jesus Christ is our King, and we want him to be part of our even to the economy in the economic plan. So when we see the the decay of our society today, with our governments who are promoting some bad ideals, we should ask ourselves where we should begin to restart our society. So Joseph de Maistre said that we can come back from all principles except the abandon of principles. So there's many ways we could rebuild our society. We can apply ourselves on spiritual life, we can make some teaching, but we have to put the principles back. So, in the way the Pius X wanted the church to be. That is, we shall not build the city otherwise that God had built it. She is the Catholic city, omnia instaura in Christo. This Pius X quote. What we oppose, there's a big fight in the church, and especially from the 18th century, with some philosophers like Voltaire and others. But this is liberalism against Christianism, Catholicism. But liberalism has many aspects. There's a political plan with Jean-Jacques Rousseau. There is the religious plan with Martin Luther. And there's also the economic plan with Adam Smith. So they all promote some liberty in their way, that they don't no submission to God and to the laws of God and nature. So this is the original non serviam, I will not serve. So the liberalism is dangerous in all points. So we have to fight them in all the ways. Like if you remember, if you are already read if you know Hercules, that's a mythologic fighter who had to make some challenge, and he had to fight a big monster, but that monster had many heads, and when he caught them, some other pop out, so he had to find a way to cut them all, otherwise they will survive and still enter back in the house. Like there's in the gospel, there's another, like impurity, if you kick out, that can come back in another way with even more danger if you don't fight it completely. So now there's a big question now. What is the relation, what is the thoughts we will have between Christian and religion? Well, how do we put money together? Scripture seems to have a big severity towards it. Of many sin for money, so that sin is penetrating between the bought and the selling. In another gospel, Luke chapter 6, 24 verse, unhappiness to you, rich, because you already possess your consolation. And you can remember that we just had that gospel recently. There's a young man who doesn't follow Christ because he has a lot of riches. Just because he has attached to his riches, he doesn't follow God. He had the good qualities, but because of money, he doesn't want. And after that, Jesus said that it is more easy to a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich to enter the kingdom of heaven, of God. But there's also this is that we can see that way, but there's also the saints that are rich, like the mages who were rich, and there's also Saint Joseph of Arimathea who bought the sepulchre for God in his. Yep. So what we could mostly say is yeah. So when we mean poverty and riches, we should see more the way that we don't have to be attached to them. It's the poverty. It is poverty, and in the ancient sense, that means that we, like, this is the poverty in the ancient sense means better the Middle East class. So like we are, that is probable for virtue. We have this example of the Holy Family. Saint Joseph was a good worker who did his work well, probably perfectly, but he wasn't distinguishing himself between misery and over riches from the other fellow men of Nazareth. Aristotle is an ancient philosopher. He said, Middle East favorize virtue. So you know what he says. One thing to remember is we can't serve two masters. There is two masters, Mammon and God. We have to choose the right one. So now let's see the three economical systems that we have in history. This is capitalism, represented by that thing, communism or socialism, and corporatism or distributism. There's these two names. These three systems have been placed in history in different ways, sometimes with one containing the others, but there's always some of them. So there are some, if we can define them, capitalism is a regime of the private enterprise and the liberty of commerce, liberty, where the capital is more important than the work. So you understand that capital is more important than work. Socialism, this is a regime by the direction of the economy by the state, where the work is more important than the capital. Corporatism is a regime of the regulation of the economy by professional association, corporations, inside to harmonize the capital and the work. So this is like the middle. This is kind of between the two and the perfect way we can work with it. Now let's see, you know what is capitalism, you know what socialism, you heard in history courses, you heard in discussions, but you probably didn't heard a lot about corporatism. So what it is? Corporatism, you can so corporatism is viewed as old, the past, because it views like middle age way to do things. But and now, since some say that we should pass to other new stuff, and tradition is not enough good for them, so that's why some people say that this is Middle Ages. But what we can answer them is that Middle Ages has been enough proved by historians that it was a society of progress with a lot of inventions. If you want to, you just have to look at the demographic expansion of the population in Europe. So the first to oppose that system were the philosopher, like there was one minister under Louis XIV in France who was named Turgot, and he wanted commerce liberty to the profit of speculators. So he obtained the deregulation, the liberty and deregulation of all grain commerce and just followed riots, famine, so they quickly turned back to. These ideas finally triumphed with the French Revolution in 1989 and the abolition of all corporations. That is, the corporations, I will explain more about them later, but they have been abolished by the law Le Chapelier, and they put all the workers in misery that haven't been seen for years and years, for decades. Followed the socialist reaction from that, from the savage capitalism. So we have Marx, what is his name? Marx. I don't know, remember what is the name, but okay. Oh, but we don't. We should remember, and this is something that we don't really see often, that the first reaction was made by Catholic society, and there was some clubs, like reunions, where the politics were discussed in the Catholic point of view, and they were the first to critique that. There are some economists, these are French Canadians, but that you can see, that you can, Esdras Mainville and François Albert Angers. These are economists that teach to high schools, schools, not university, college, and they know, yeah, we should reread them sometimes because they know what it. But this is not an idea that has been promoted by just some of them. This is an idea that there's many books like Small is Beautiful. This is the Bible of the ecologist, but there's the ideas, some of the ideas of corporatism are in that. There's some Marie Saleh on the globalization. And there's also, even in the Islamic side, there are some economists named Muhammad Homer Chapra who made that book and who tried to develop a economical thought, Islamic thought, and they end with doing pretty much the same thing as the church. Before passing to these people, corporatism is a society, is kind of a society between a society. So you have the state, you have the people, but between them you have some corporations ruled by professionals, that is the people who knows about work, and they organize themselves. They help, like there's the workers, and they form a group, and they work together. And when I say this is an inter-society, I mean that they are like the education of the children from the society, in the corporation is helped by the corporations. When workers can be sick, his family is needing help, the corporation will work on that too. So soon after the corporations became known as the people. These are, in France, are the people who promoted these ideas of corporation, the name of that idea is named social capitalism. Social capitalism. It's named social capitalism, and they were taken by these guys. So Albert Demain is the political guy who promoted a lot of bills in the French Assembly, and who was here for 40 years, and he proposed a lot of bills for the people, for the common class workers class, to help them to make the laws that will help them. René de la Tour du Pin is in the intellectual of the group. So he was an intellectual of the group. And there's Léon Armel. That guy is he is more the action man. So he had built a city, pretty much not built a city, but he had built his manufactory, and there was 2,000 workers in it, and it was going pretty well. This is not only in France. This is only in Germany with Bishop Kettler, in the Jesuit Taparelli Dazaglio in Italy, and this is also Bishop Mermio in Switzerland. So if you want to resume social capitalism, we will resume them as the promotion of corporations, syndicates, labor unions before waiting for corporations. Social law. We need some social law to help the work class. The state should have a stronghold, but stronghold without putting himself into business. So he can put laws, but he must get away from the state must not interfere too much in the economy. The traditions. Corporations is reflected by traditions, and even some people promote monarchy with it. Now let's see directly the teaching of the church. Social capitalism has been taken by the church, and there are some encyclicals that have been made. The first was by Leo XIII. He has been called the Pope of the Workers. He made Rerum Novarum. So he denounced the misery, the unmerited misery of the worker class. So that's directly opposing a dogma of capitalism that says that if you're poor, that's your fault. No, that's not true. Social inequality is willed by God. This is that in order that the rich could be generous and work charity, and the poor may be humble in their poverty and work for it. Private property is a natural right. That's have been willed by God. This is a natural right. That goes against dogma of socialism. He denounced also the mistake of explaining history with the fight of classes, rich against poor, more influenced people against working class, some stuff like that. He promotes social law to help the working class. He wants to restore corporations and waiting for them, create some labor unions. So that's the main point that have been written from the time, because the others point were more considered as a higher philosophical level. But that point has been retained by liberals like a revolutionary one, but that is more a reaction encyclical. So Leo XIII said, "To whom wants to regenerate a society in decay, we prescribe with reason to bring her back to her origin." The next encyclical is done by Pius XI in the Great Depression. This is the name is Corporatism. In that encyclical, that goes more further. That the Pope is now accusing capitalism as a dictator. He's accusing of the capitalism dictator, the higher finance having reduced the state to slavery by economic entangling. He rejected the pretend law of market that I will explain that later. He renewed the notions of just price and just salary or wage. he again, and I will explain that later. The economy must be regulated by some intermediate corps, that is, corporations, the intermediate between the state and the working class. And he says also he warned Catholics against the tendency to put an alliance between the church and moderated socialism, because when we look at the time, when we look at both of them, they promote the same ideas to help the working class, but one is based on God and one is based on atheism, so that can work together. The end cannot work together. The other Pope to make that is Pius XII. He didn't make an encyclical, but he made some social message by radio. One of them is the La Solemnita. He called back that the owner is the intendant of the goods, the common goods, in a supernatural and natural and supernatural goal. So the owner is intended of his good for the welfare of the society, not for some. There's a right, a false right that it's called usum et abusum, the right to use and to abuse of it. That's not a right. This is the right of the owner for the welfare of the collectivity, but this is not the collectivity owning the goods too, because socialism will say that collectivity should own for the welfare of the community. That doesn't work. The example of all the socialist nations already proved it. People have a right to work, and they should work, and they have the right to work. And he denounced the utopia of a pleasure society that we have today, and in which we, he promotes the access of property for working families. This is the base. Some people say that Pius XII was the Pope of communism, against communism, but we should call him the Pope of the family, because his first preoccupation was family, and he proved it with that one of that point. Related also to the development of the individual in abundance consummation society. He forces that. He's the first to really see that because misery is past. There's no really misery in the capitalist societies, and he foresees that how will be the development of the individual in society. He wants a home for families, because family is the base of society, and family needs to have a home. Why a home? To have a land. Why a land? To have a country. So capitalism destroyed the idea of family first, and then is destroying and pretty much destroy the idea of homeland. These people, as have been destroyed, are called proletariat. They are characterized by a dependence on economic system. This is a question of liberty rather than revenue. This is the concept. 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. So, okay, now let's see the main rules of the capitalism. So the market law and the interest, the bank loans. So there is the market law, known as the law of offer and demand. So that's pretty simple to explain. We have offer and demand. and when the one is higher and the other is less, that will make a just price. That will mean the time will make a just price between the two. So if you have a higher offer and a low demand, you will have price will lower, and if you have a high demand and a low offer, price will go down. Is it true? That seems right, but I doesn't think it is. This is a partial, like Karl Marx was telling about the love, the fight of the classes. That can explain a bit of history, but that's not explaining all. That's the same with Adamsman and his law of market law. So George Vaughan in his book says, if instead of reasoning as sellers, the economists are reasoned as producers, they will have discovered without great difficulty that the value of products is influenced not by the desire of the buyers, but by the cost of revenue. This is not the demand that influences the prices, but the prices that influence the demand. The law of offer and the demand has been invented to legitimate the operations to the at New York, the big bank that you can make speculators can make stuff here. The speculators have the biggest interest to convict people of the scientific value of that law. You can take an example for that to prove that this is not true. In the early century, you have the Ford T30 that can be sold at $300. That's an equivalent of $3,003 today. Can you imagine to buy a car like that now? No, that's impossible. What they did is people didn't really need, like in India, people didn't need a car. People don't need a car. They can't work without car, they can go without car. So sellers will propose cars, and they will lower the price to make people buy it. So they can afford, 2,000 is, we can afford that, so why not could buy it? This is not anymore the rich who are buying it, but everyone could buy it. But when the people in India will not be able to go in life without a car, they will do as the same as that's us here. So we saw how this is not a true law, this is just a partial law of the economy. So let's see the morality of that law. The morality of that law, let's take a big example. There's a guy in the desert dying from water. So you have a high demand, but you're in the desert, so you have a low offer. So normally you could give the bottle for 10, knowing that the guy has the money. You can sell one bottle of water for $1,000 if you want. That's not moral. We can do that. Justice cannot come from a conflict of two opposing forces. That's the same for wages. If you have a big work to do and you really need it, the worker could make you pay much, but that's not how it works. So there are some Saint Thomas Aquinas who talk about it. So for a just price and a just wage, we have to make an objective valuation of the value of the work that is made by the corporation. This is based on the cost, adduction of production, how it costs you to make, plus the delivery, like the bottle in the desert that you take, maybe it costs you $100 or $10 to bring that bottle in the desert. There's a reasonable estimation, common estimation made by the corporation. The salary is made according to the need of the family instead of the work equals that. So you got that. No, this is by the needs of the family. The family who have 10 children needs more than the one with 2. The regulation is made by corporation. So Catholics promote salvation by altruism instead of capitalism, by egoism. So there's the sin of usury, that's a sin. That's just a sin. That's bank loans are just a sin. There's the founders of the American Revolution who says like time is money. Time is not money. Work is money. Time is not money. This is the Protestant. Usury has been promoted by Protestant. Benedict XIV said that the species of sin called usury is committed like when the only loan give right to a profit in more added to a capital, loan capital, even if the profit is not excessive. So sin, this is a sin. But there was a tolerancy of the church after that when capitalism kind of grip and concessions were made, like legality of society become moral. And I think that's one of the things that lead to what we have today. So how works the bank system? Some people don't believe it, but money is just created from the bank. And millions can be made from the banks, and they're just deleted. But in the and there's a lot of interest that came to the bank loaners, so that's why we results inflation. There will be. So even if you look on Wikipedia, you will find that. That leads to, you can imagine the power of money that gives, that power of money is now what we have today. With the Federal Reserve, the financial oligarchy. Maria Archibald Rothschild, the founder of the dynasty, said that, "Give me the control of money, I will price myself of those who make laws." So there was some banks also made by the church, by monastics, religious, that work without interest for the poor. They have been suppressed by the church, not by the church, by the, well, on the pressures of bankers. Bankers didn't want that because they added a lot of interest, want to make money. So with Vatican II, all that collapse, they made some economical encyclicals, but they were just confirming, they were just with the time. So if the state, if the people, media will say that, they will say the same, just confirm it.
Just have to give you just 1 minute.
Okay, that's good. So the Catholic economy is characterized by private propriety and with common dignity, respect of social equality, role of the state. The economy must be ruled by the state, not ruled by the state. So I will just economy state. This is what it is today. What should be is that here. Church should be an authority of the state without interfering to the state, and the state to the economy without interfering to it. So the Catholic promotes temperance, but when we look at the social, when we look at the economical question, we should always think that man doesn't live only with the bread, but also with the Word of God.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.